This course is presented to you free of charge by TTJ Tech Services of www.ttjtech.biz and by Stir It Up of www.stiritup.com. And remember, stir is spelled with a U, not an I, so that's STURITUP.com. TTJ Tech Services and Stir It Up are pleased to offer this course to you to the glory of God and to the benefit of all those who listen. Trainer Matt coming at you here, and I want to welcome you to session number 3 of Voiceover In and Out. Well, glory to God. Praise God. And once again, thank you for coming in today. We've got the on-screen keyboard in first priority here today. We need to start talking about how we're going to type. And I will be very, very quick to say this is going to be a very basic intro to typing. We are going to get more advanced later on in the course. This is not the advanced typing stuff today. It's too soon for that. We will get there, okay? We will talk about editing and misspelled words and text selection and copy and paste and all that. We're going to get there, but not today. Today's going to be the basics of typing. We're also going to talk a little bit about the app library, another part of the home screen, and we're going to talk about a little bit about Siri and Spotlight and that sort of thing. We've learned so far, we've learned that if we tap anywhere on the screen, that VoiceOver will read what we tap on. And when we do that, it also brings focus to that item that we tap on. And you can see that if you have some eyesight by seeing the rectangle that surrounds the item that has the focus. That's called the VoiceOver cursor, remember? And we also know that once the VoiceOver cursor is highlighting something, you can double tap anywhere on the screen to actually insert or to activate or to open or to select or whatever that particular element on the screen. If it's a button, when you double tap, it clicks or taps the button. When you are landing on an app, if you double tap on that app, it opens the app, it launches the app, right? Well, the on-screen keyboard is absolutely no different by default. We're going to talk about some alternative typing modes, but for starters, it's just the same as VoiceOver is everywhere else. You tap once on a letter on the screen, and you hear what that letter is, and then you double tap to insert that letter. Now, many times you will need the on-screen keyboard. That's why we're doing this so soon, because you might need to enter account information to log into something. You might need to set up your email that way. If you're a brand new user and you don't have a backup or, any of these other things, you're going to have to set all that up. And so you may need to be able to type on screen. And one of the things that we want to talk about is, yes, there are Bluetooth keyboards. You can use a Bluetooth keyboard with your phone if you'd like. And later on in the course, closer to the end of the course, we're going to teach you how to do that. The reason that we don't teach that at the beginning is because our trainer team of Cliff and Sarah and myself, we feel very strongly that you need to learn first how to navigate the touchscreen. And the reason for that is because if you remember going back to the beginning, it was only last week. So you remember the beginning of this course, we said that Apple does everything they can to make our experience like the experience of our sighted counterparts, family, friends, coworkers, what have you. And so if somebody says to you, well, sir, that icon that you're looking for is in the upper right corner of the screen, you can actually reach up there and physically touch the upper right corner of the screen, and you will find that very same icon. This is a touchscreen device. This is the touchscreen world. This is why people from 2 years old to 102 and beyond in both directions, I'm sure, are successfully using devices like iPhones and iPads. And, the iPod Touch, when that was in existence, was really popular with kids and so on. Well, there's a reason for that. This is easy stuff. And so we have the ability to have a similar experience. Whereas, if somebody says it's in the bottom left, there it really is, bottom left. You touch that. And so if you don't learn the touch screen, you will not appreciate that. And it's actually going to make things much harder because you're not going to understand the concepts of the way that apps are set up and so on. And so it's for that reason we want to teach you the on-screen first, and then we'll bring the Bluetooth keyboards in later on. Now, I want to let you know about something else that we offer in addition to this class and all the many offerings that we have. And it also is completely free, no cost, just like these voiceover classes. I think I made reference to this last week, but I want to mention it again now that we're talking about keyboards. I know there are lots and lots of folks out there who are new to typing. Maybe you've never owned a computer. Maybe you own it, but you've never really gotten very good at typing. And maybe you're really nervous about the touch screen. Yes, that typing, that can really be a struggle. But this is the typing skill. A lot of people are nervous about it. And they say, well, I just am not going to be able to use my iPhone or my iPad for anything serious because I can't type on the touch screen. And every time I try to log into such and such an app, I haven't set up, my keychain, we'll call it, it's the passwords app now, but, I haven't set this up yet. And so I have to manually type my passwords. And boy, every time I do it, I make a mistake. And I'm afraid one of these days I'm going to get locked out of my account, or, I'm not going to be able to type quickly and all of this. And we really, really see students and customers getting very, very nervous about the touch screen. And what I can tell you is that the better you can type on a mechanical keyboard, the better you're going to be able to type on a touch screen because the layout is virtually identical. Now, you're going to find some differences, especially on the iPhone because it's a much smaller device. iPad is especially if you have one of the large iPad Pros, the 12.9 inch or the 13-inch iPad Pros, they're going to have the identical layout as your physical keyboard. They even have the numbers right above the letters, just like you would on a physical keyboard. But the smaller you go, the more trade-offs there have to be. And so certainly the iPhone has things that are different from a traditional mechanical keyboard, but it also has a lot of things that are the same, especially that QWERTY layout. QWERTY, right? QWERTY and so forth. And so it's the same layout. Letters are in the same place on the on-screen keyboard of your phone as they are on the mechanical keyboard that you might be used to. So the better you can type on a mechanical keyboard, the better you're going to be able to type on an iPhone. Why? Because muscle memory is key here. You're not going to be able to feel the tactile keys, but you can certainly have an idea in your mind because you're not going to be able to feel the tactile keys, but you can certainly have an idea in your mind because that, for example, if I say to you, where is the letter K? Well, it's just to the right of the letter J and just to the left of the letter L. You have that home row, A, S, D, F, G, H, J, K, L, semicolon. You have no semicolon on the iPhone there, but you know what I'm saying? That is how it's set up, and that muscle memory is going to make a huge difference in making it easier to type. And so what we've decided to do, we have put together, as God has led us to do so, a series we call Typing with TTJ. And it's only on YouTube. We don't do these live stream or anything, but they're still completely free. And it's each week we're releasing new Typing with TTJ sessions. We've got 2 up there already, with a third one slated to come out probably later today. And we're going to keep doing them each week. You can, it's a playlist on YouTube on our TTJ Tech channel. So you can subscribe to our channel. You can add that playlist to your library, and you can learn to type if you've never done this. And even if you have, maybe you use these exercises to improve your typing and make sure you've got that proper home row fingering down pat. Once you practice this enough on a mechanical keyboard, I'm telling you, even though you're not going to use home row fingering on an iPhone, because there's just not the room to do that, you're still going to be able to type. This is how I learned to type. As a matter of fact, my mother is doing these recordings with me. And she's got an old book from a college course, and it is excellent. And it's what she used to teach me to type when I was about 4 or 5 years old. And it's truly stuck with me. And I believe that I absolutely have a God-given talent with this stuff. But I also know, as I said before, we can hone these skills, we can practice them. And I know that has been an influence on the fact that I've been able to type so well on the on-screen keyboards of these touchscreen devices. I don't boast except in the Lord. I give I'll give all the glory to him. But I can tell you that I type on these touchscreen devices as if they were mechanical keyboards. And I use the method we're going to learn about later called direct touch typing that makes it really, really fast to be able to type. And so on an iPad, you can use proper home row fingering even on the touchscreen. But even on the iPhone, I type using this method. Now, am I going to sit here and tell you that I never, ever make a mistake? Well, of course not. I absolutely make mistakes. And sometimes I even make them when I'm demonstrating in class, and everybody can hear that. But what you're also going to hear is that 9 times out of 10, if I do make a mistake, autocorrect will fix it. So a combination of proper typing skills and then your autocorrect is going to make it very, very easy for you to type. And we're going to demonstrate that for you in just a little bit. But we have to build to that point. And so when you are a new user, I would highly encourage you to just type the way I described a few minutes ago. You touch a letter on the keyboard. When you find the one you want, you double tap to insert it. Now, all of the other gestures like the swipe left and right, they will also help you to find your letters if you're not sure of where they're located. And you can also explore by touch and kind of drag your finger around the screen until you find the letter that you want. So let's demonstrate that. Before we talk about the other typing modes, we will get into an edit field. Right now, we haven't taught you to use any apps yet. That's all coming, in the coming weeks in this course. Praise God! But for right now, if you aren't really comfortable with any specific app, I would encourage you maybe to open if you've never done it at all, maybe you're not even aware of this, but there's a Notes app. You can open and create a new note. You can tell Siri, which we're going to talk about today. You can tell her to launch Notes or open Notes and then create a new note. There are different ways of doing this, or you could use a message. But I'm going to just demonstrate this for you, and I'll probably just go to the Messages app because it's just as easy to get there as anywhere. Messages or Note. All right, I'm in the Messages app now. I just chose that one, and I'm in a message conversation. All right, how did I get into that one? Oh, I don't want that one. Okay, not that it matters because I'm not going to actually send this to anybody, but I'm in a message conversation right now, and what I'm going to do.
Messages, message, iMessage, text field. Double tap to edit.
When we learn about advanced editing, and even when we learn about the Messages app next week, you're going to see that you have to double tap in this edit field to open it up, and then that will cause the on-screen keyboard to display.
Message, text field, is editing, iMessage, insertion point at start. Swipe up or down to...
All right, we're going to pause that speech there with a 2-finger single tap. You heard it say is editing, so we are now editing, and I'm in a text field, and the lower half of my iPhone screen is this on-screen keyboard, and I can touch any letter, any character that I want to with just a tap. Any finger I just touch or tap somewhere that I know a letter would be.
Cap R. Romeo. Use the rotor to...
Now, by default, you heard it say the letter name and also the phonetic representation of that letter. So there's no doubt about what letter I'm on. It said R. Actually, it said cap R because, of course, it's going to capitalize the first letter of anything. So it says cap R, and it said Romeo. What I'm going to do is touch somewhere else so you can hear that we can tap another letter.
Cap H. Hotel. Space.
And of course, the space bar, that doesn't have any phonetic, but
Cap K.
Now,
Kilo.
I didn't type. I tapped on the K where it said capital K or cap K. And if I, instead of touching random locations now, if I were to swipe with one finger to the right.
Cap L. Lima.
So instead of tapping this time, I swiped. Remember the swipe right gesture? And we know, if we are familiar with the keyboard, that the L is just to the right of the letter K. So now if I swipe back to the left,
Cap K.
I'm back to the K.
Kilo.
And I can keep swiping left.
Cap J. Cap H. Cap G.
This is our home row. I can touch somewhere else, lower down.
Cap V.
There's the bottom.
Victor.
Swipe to the right.
Cap B. Cap N. Cap M. Delete. Numbers.
Okay. So that is how you can move around the on-screen keyboard until you become more comfortable with it. But it is, I will tell you, it is set up exactly the same as your QWERTY, mechanical keyboards. You have the top row that starts with the letter Q, goes all the way over to the letter P at the right.
Space. Cap P. Papa.
Now, ordinarily, on a mechanical keyboard, there's going to be more things to the right of the letter P. You're going to have the left and right brackets and the backslash and so on. And again, if you have a large iPad Pro, that's going to be true of that as well. But on the iPhone, the letter P is as far to the right as you can go. If you swipe to the right one more time, it's actually going to bring you down to the next row, the far left, which is considered the home row. That's the letter A. We'll swipe there.
Cap A.
Okay.
Alpha.
And again, we can move across this.
Cap S. Cap D. Cap S.
Okay. We'll find that the letter L is the farthest to the right here. There's no semicolon on the iPhone. I mean, there is a semicolon on the iPhone, but it's in a different place. It's not here. So
Cap L.
once we get to the
Lima.
L, we can swipe right.
Selected. Shift.
We get to the shift.
Quadruple tap to enter caps lock.
All right. And we'll talk about that in a moment, how to use the shift key. But you just heard one of the hints there. Now we're on the bottom row.
Cap C. Cap X. Cap C. Cap V. Cap B. Cap N. Cap M.
And this one
Mike.
does have something. To the right of the M, we heard this before.
Delete.
There's the delete key. Now, the way the delete works, if you're familiar with using a Windows PC,
Message received.
you would actually call this,
Four.
excuse me, there, I got a notification.
One unread.
Okay. If you are familiar with using a Windows PC, you would actually call it backspace because that's what the delete key does. It deletes the previous character. All right. Now, the last row that we have just below the row we just looked at.
Delete. Use the rotor to access misspelled
Looks like I got
words.
to interrupt you for a minute because I use the PC every day for work. There is a backspace key, but that's on the top row. There's actually a delete key designated on the keyboards with Windows that have a numpad, and that actually deletes the current character, not backspace.
That's right. And we don't have anything equivalent to that on the iPhone or iPad. And on the standard Mac keyboard, we don't either. Now, Cliff, what about the extended Mac keyboard with the numpad? Does that have the sort of delete that you're describing or no?
It does. It does.
Okay.
And it's actually, well, my Logitech has 3. But but yeah, it does have that delete key down below between the 0 and the, I forgot what this key is. I think it's page up or down. But yes, it's in the bottom row in the exact location that it would be on a PC next to the 0 in the numpad.
And does it delete forward like that, the current character, or does it still delete back the previous?
The current or forward. I forget which one it is, but I think it's actually the current.
The current character.
Yep.
Okay, so that's something that only the extended Apple keyboards have with the numeric keypad, whereas all the other ones, they're going to only have one that deletes the previous, but they call it delete, even though the Windows world would call it a backspace, but it's here it's just called delete, but it functions in that same way. Now we have one final row, and I'll touch, if we go down to the next row here.
Numbers.
And the first thing you hear it say is numbers. If you look at if you look at this key on the very bottom left,
numbers,
what you would see is like a 1, 2, 3. It actually has numbers on it when it's displayed. I mean, it's only on screen when it's needed, when you're on the keyboard. And this toggles us between the letters and the numbers. And the numbers keyboard also has common symbols like period, comma, exclamation mark, question mark, semicolon, colon, various ones like that. Then they also have a symbols keyboard, which we can only get to once we're in the numbers keyboard. So I'll show you that in a moment. But let's keep going to the right. What's to the right of numbers?
Space.
The space bar.
Return.
And the return. And that's what we have there. And there is actually something a little bit
emoji
below that. Wasn't
double
thinking.
Tap and hold, then drag up to dictate. Double dictate.
Okay, so we have two
Tap
keys
P.
there. What we have,
P.
we have the emoji. That is sort of a globe symbol. You have the ability to use this actually to change between multiple keyboard inputs, but by default, it's going to change between your alphanumeric and your emoji. So it's between English US, if you are in the US, and the emojis. The emojis, of course, animated symbols or cartoon type symbols. A lot of people use these. There's things like smiley faces and winky faces and sad faces, and then there's all kinds of other categories, right? You can have a picture of a dog or a cat or a monkey, or you can have different kinds of food or a baseball or all sorts of things. And we will talk more about those when we get into the discussion of the Messages app next week and beyond. We'll talk about emojis. We'll talk about some of the other really cool things that Apple has done, like Animoji and Memoji, because they're really cool. But that's not for today. But the emoji key is down there, and that's really kind of another row even below what I said was the last row. It only has in it the emoji key, and it has the dictate button. You heard it say dictate down there. And if you can see that one, it's a little microphone symbol. And so, again, you could double tap on that to start and to stop dictation. Now, VoiceOver users have another way that we can start and stop dictation, as long as the VoiceOver cursor is focused on the on-screen keyboard. If it happens to not be focused on the on-screen keyboard, the dictation shortcut may not work. But if it is focused on the on-screen keyboard, you can use the dictation shortcut, which happens to be the magic tap that we introduced last week. The magic tap, 2-finger double tap in an edit field. When the keyboard has focus, will start and stop dictation. And so they've added that in there just to make it even easier, because especially with the fact that maybe we might land on something else while we're dictating, and then we don't know how to stop dictating. So we can just do that 2-finger double tap. So you can, as long as you're in an edit field, and I would recommend you touch something on the keyboard first, like the return key here.
Return.
And I can now double tap with 2 fingers to start and to stop dictation. And when we dictate, if this is your very first time doing this, it may ask you if you want to enable dictation. But once it does, it's going to download the necessary components so that you don't even have to be online when you dictate, and it's just you can dictate as long as you want. This is how we dictate. We speak naturally. We don't have to talk like a robot. We don't have to, slow it down. We just talk normally, and we don't even have to speak our punctuation. Now, if we want to be sure of the correct punctuation, certainly we can still speak that, and oftentimes I still do, just to be sure. But you technically don't even have to, and most of the time it does a pretty good job of inserting punctuation on its own. So let's try. Let's do a sample of this here, and I won't even do the punctuation just to see what happens, okay? 2-finger double tap coming up. Hello. How are you doing today? We are in the process of teaching our VoiceOver class. I hope everybody is enjoying it and finding it a blessing, just like we are.
Inserted hello. How are you doing today? We are in the process of teaching our voiceover class. I hope everybody is enjoying it and finding it a blessing just like we are.
Now, because of the way well, first of all, you'll notice that it reads back what you dictated. And that works 99.9% of the time. Every once in a while, if you've dictated a lot or something, it may not read the whole thing back, but you can always tap with one finger on that edit field to have it read again. And later on in the course, when we learn about advanced editing, of course, you'll learn how you can read word by word, line by line, character by character. And so that's going to be really important once we get, deeper into this, but probably not going to do that today. But I will say that you can hear by the way that VoiceOver read that it put punctuation where it was supposed to. Now, the way that it speaks, I'm very used to this because I do this, frequently. I listen to VoiceOver. I'm not sure that the word voiceover, when I said we're teaching the VoiceOver class, I'm not sure that didn't get inserted as two separate words. So I'm going to go back and check that. And I also think there should have been a comma. At least I would have put a comma in one other place that I don't think it did. And I know you may not know how to do this yet because for some of you, you're brand new to this. And I apologize again, but we're going to get there. I promise we're going to get there. But I just want to do it anyway. I'm going to
message text field insertion point at start.
I double tap the edit field because when you double tap the edit field, it brings you back to the beginning. You heard it say insertion point at start. Now, if you double tap it again,
insertion point at end.
It takes you to the end. You can keep doing that, but I want to go to the beginning.
Insertion point at start.
We did talk about the rotor, so you understand what I mean when I say that I'm going to set my rotor to words.
Words.
And swipe down.
Hello, comma. How are you doing? Today, question mark. We are in the process of teaching our voice.
Yep, that's what I thought. The way it pronounced voice, it said like voice over. And I had a feeling that it put it as two separate words. So I'm going to go to characters here.
Characters.
And I'm going to delete the space that's in between those. Again, we're going to teach you how to do this. But
space.
There it is. I'm after the space and I delete.
Space.
Okay, now I'll go back to words.
Words. VoiceOver.
Now we got it. Okay.
Class period. I hope every is and it and it a blessing just like we are period.
So I'm going to put a comma after the word blessing.
Are we like just characters space comma blessing.
Okay. Now let's read it.
Message text field is editing. Hello, how are you doing today? We are in the process of teaching our voiceover class. I hope everybody is enjoying it and finding it a blessing, just like we are.
Now, we can hold down the delete as long as we want, but I'm just going to do another thing. I'm going to select all.
Text if mentioned, edit, select, scanned, select all. Hello, new line, new line.
And I just deleted the whole thing, okay? So it's that simple. Now, when we dictate, of course, you notice that we didn't have to say the punctuation. And for the most part, it got it right. It really did. I could say it, as I said, if I wanted to be sure, I could do hello, comma, or if I want an exclamation, hello, exclamation mark. How are you doing? Question mark. I could say those kinds of things if I wanted to. And you can say new line, and that presses return. You can say smiley and frowny and winky, and it'll put the faces in there for those. Now, I don't think it actually... I'm not sure nowadays. It used to not really use the real emoji, but it used to instead use like the colon and the right parentheses or something for those when you dictated them that way. But I haven't tried that in a long time, so I don't know which way it does it now. But it will do one or the other. And also you can definitely indicate, as I said, that you want a new line and those sorts of things. Now, what I would also like to do is to demonstrate the actual typing, because now we dictated, but I want to go back and I want to demonstrate the typing. As I said, by default, when you touch a letter, it speaks it.
Cap F.
And if I want to insert that letter, I then have to double tap on the screen once I'm on the correct letter. So if I want to type hello, I will
Cap H.
And then I'll
hotel.
Double tap.
Cap H.
Now we'll find the E.
W.
Whoops, yeah, I landed on the wrong letter, so we'll swipe to the right, and there's the E. So that's how that works. If you land on the wrong thing, you just swipe or move around with your finger till you find it. Now we've got the E. We'll double tap.
E.
We're going to do the L.
A.
Oh, I landed on the wrong. And let's pretend I have no idea. let's pretend I don't know where. So I'll just start swiping to the right. Now, this is the long way. I don't recommend this, but until you know the keyboard well, you could certainly do this. We'll swipe to the right.
S, D, F, G, H, G, K, L.
There's the L. All right, so you see the idea. And we have to double tap twice because we want two L's in hello.
L.
And then the O.
O.
And I'll go to the numbers keyboard. Bottom left is
numbers.
Double tap. Now
letters.
I know where the period is.
Period. Hello.
Okay, so the numbers keyboard, I recommend exploring it. The top row is your numbers 1 through 9 and 0 at the end.
1, 8.
All the way up.
9, 0.
The next row.
Hyphen. Slash, colon, semicolon, left paren, right paren, $, ampersand, at, quotation mark.
And the
symbols,
bottom row.
Period, comma, question mark, exclamation mark, apostrophe, delete, letters.
And you notice you heard the letters, that's at the very bottom left, to go back to the letters keyboard.
Letters.
And certain things that you enter will automatically take you back to the letters keyboard. Like if you insert an apostrophe, it automatically puts you back on letters. Above that letters button on the left-hand side of the row above it
symbols.
Is the symbols.
Quadruple tap to enter caps lock.
And what that does is that actually takes you to more symbols, because you heard a lot of symbols on that first keyboard, the numbers keyboard rather, just a moment ago. I wouldn't expect you to memorize them, but explore that on your own time. And eventually you'll start to memorize where things are. But you heard that there's period and comma and, hyphen and all these things. But there's a lot of other symbols. If we go to the symbols keyboard here, I'll just
symbols. Select
show you
numbers.
Some of these, like here's a row.
Left square bracket, right square bracket, left brace, right brace, numbers, percent, caret, star, plus, equals, underscore, backslash, vertical line, tilde, less than, greater than, euro sign, pound sign, yen sign. So you get the idea. There's a lot of other symbols here. And at the bottom left again, letters.
Is our just double tap to get back to the letters. And that's how easy that is. Now, on the subject of the letters, you notice on the left-hand side, there is a shift key. And I told you it's
a shift.
There it is. So when you start in an edit field, it knows to capitalize the first letter of things. If you need to capitalize something else, what you'll do is you'll touch that shift key and then you'll double tap. And once you do, it selects it. And then the next letter that you insert will be capitalized. If you want to switch to caps lock mode, there are two ways to do that. One is you heard it say quadruple tap to enter caps lock. Listen again, remember?
Shift. Quadruple tap to enter caps lock.
And so if I do quadruple tap, it'll turn on capital letters until I double tap it again to turn it off. But also you might have heard or might not have, because I moved the phone away, it said actions available.
Shift. Quadruple tap to enter caps lock. Actions available.
Let's look at what those actions are with the rotor. One finger up or down.
Caps lock. Activate default.
Notice the caps lock is also in the rotor. So another way you can do it, if you are on, this only will work if you're on the shift key. I can't stress this enough. Every time I talk about this, I take like 2 or 3 minutes to explain it, because I don't ever want you to forget this, because it's so easy, especially for newer users, to say, why don't I see what I expect? Why, when I do, double tap with 2 fingers, doesn't it start dictation? All of a sudden it played music instead of dictating. Well, that's because you didn't really have the focus where it belongs in order for it to recognize that it needs to dictate. Well, that's the same thing here. If your focus is not on the shift key, it's not going to allow you to do caps lock in the rotor. But it happens that if you land on the shift key, there is an action in the rotor called caps lock. So you can do that. So that's how we work with, and of course, to turn it off, as I said, you just double tap it again, the shift key, that is. So that's how we work with typing in what is known as standard typing mode. Standard typing is the most closely related to everything else you do with VoiceOver. You touch and you touch and it highlights something. You swipe left and right or drag your finger around and it moves you. And when you find what you want, you double tap to insert it. We just demonstrated that with the word hello. Let's do it one more time. Let's touch the Let's see where we are here.
Return.
Okay. I guess I actually, yeah. So what I'm going to do, because if you're at the
period.
I'll put a space,
Space.
and now it has capitalized
Selected. Shift.
for the next letter. So let's do it one more time.
Cap H. Cap H.
Touch the E.
Double Q. The E. E.
L.
L. L. L.
And the O.
O. O.
And if you want to insert a period and a space, you don't actually have to go to the numbers keyboard to find the period. You just do a double space. So we find the space.
Space.
And then we're going to have to basically quadruple tap.
Space.
And what it does is it puts the period.
Oh, period. Space.
And the space. Okay. And that's the proper thing. Now, I know many of us, if we're not teenagers or younger, if we're anything older than that, we remember two spaces after the period, but that's not what they tell you to do now. They tell you to do one. So this does the proper thing. If you just do a double space, it puts the period and the space. Now, this is standard typing mode. But as you can see, this is not the quickest way in the world to type, because certainly having to touch every letter and then double tap it is going to get old after a while. And so I recommend you stay with that standard typing mode until you become really comfortable with the on-screen keyboard, and then you can try one of the other ones. And the next one on the scale of easy to advanced would be the touch typing option. And touch typing allows you to touch a letter, and if it's the wrong letter, you swipe, or really you slide your finger, not swipe, keep your finger held down and slide to the left or to the right until you find what you want. When you find what you want, you lift your finger, and then and only then does the letter get inserted, but you don't have to double tap. I happen to have typing modes in the rotor. That's like the one setting for VoiceOver. I told you before, I don't keep VoiceOver settings in the rotor. That's like the one setting that I have in the rotor, and I don't even really need it in there anymore. I had it in there when I wasn't quite as comfortable with direct touch typing that I'm going to get to, but I've sort of just left it in there, and it's good because I can easily switch to it right now to show it to you. So let's see.
Text effect mention edit live rec toggle live typing mode direct touch typing.
I'm going to go
touch typing.
Swipe up or down with one finger. I'm on touch typing.
Standard typing, touch typing, direct touch typing.
You can hear there are three choices.
Standard typing.
Standard.
Touch typing.
There's touch. So touch typing, that's what I'm going to now demonstrate for you. Again, we tap on a letter. If it's correct, we simply lift our finger to insert it. If it's wrong, we slide until we find it. So we're going to I'm going to put a return in here.
Return. New line.
Now, in touch typing, you do have to double tap the return key. All right, let's try hello again. I'll tap the H and lift my finger if I'm on the H.
Cap H.
See, as soon as I lifted my finger, it inserted it.
E, L, O. Space.
Now, if I were wrong, let's do it like I may, I land on the wrong key this time.
Cap H, W, E, Y, T, R, E, E, L, U, I, O.
Okay,
Oscar.
And it inserts the O.
Period. Hello. Return. New line.
All right, so that's a good one. It's sort of a next level. When you get a little bit more comfortable with the skill of typing on screen, you can try touch typing, because touch typing, as I said, it gives you the benefit of it doesn't insert the letter until you lift your finger. So if you're wrong, if you land on the wrong key, just swipe, or not really swipe, because swipe is a quick gesture when you lift your finger. This is keep your finger held down and slide to the left or to the right to the correct character. Once you find the correct character, you lift your finger. Now, there's one other part of touch typing that was introduced a few years ago, and it's called slide to type, or quick path typing. And this is a feature that a lot of our Android users were using, and people really wanted it on Apple. I'm not sure why, but It allows you to keep your finger held down and slide around the keyboard to make the words that you're trying to spell. I don't even know if I have mine enabled, but you hold your finger down and you feel a little tap, and then you can slide all around. Let me try this once.
Cap H. Hey. Hello.
Yep.
No. Period.
So
Space.
it worked. What I did,
Space.
I touched the H in hello, and I then kept my finger held down until I heard that little rising tone and I felt a little tap. And I did not lift my finger ever. I slid my finger to approximately where I expect the letter E to be. I still didn't lift my finger. I slid down and to the right to where I thought the L was, and then up and to the left a little bit to the O. This is slide to type. It is not something that I do ever because I do direct touch typing, which I much prefer. You have to be in touch typing mode if you're going to do slide to type with VoiceOver, but I don't recommend that until you're really comfortable. And even then, it's a skill in and of itself. And I mean, I just give God the glory because I don't think I actually am really that comfortable with slide to type. I don't use it. So I'm gonna go on now to the third mode, and we're going to introduce a term today called direct touch. If you are a VoiceOver user, anytime that you hear the word or the term direct touch, what that indicates is that the area of the screen that is operating in direct touch mode is basically exempt from the need to use VoiceOver gestures. Everything you do, every gesture gets passed directly through to the system. You don't have the VoiceOver layer, even though VoiceOver is still talking. And there are different times when this may be useful. And one option is to use it with the on-screen keyboard. And so I'm going to go to typing mode and switch to direct touch typing.
Text effect mentioned misspelled edit. Live recognition toggle live typing direct touch typing. Return.
Okay.
Spit messages.
Now,
yet return. New line.
What does this mean for us when we type? Well, it means we're going to type in exactly the same way that our sighted counterparts do. How do we do that? We very simply touch the letter that we want and it gets inserted. Now, if we really think we're wrong, we can hold our finger down and it won't insert the letter. So if I want to get my bearings, I might hold my finger down first where I think something is.
Cap H.
Like there's the H.
Cap H.
Just kept my finger held down a second there. But if I lift it quickly, it's going to insert it. So I'm going to type hello in this way, literally just tapping where I think every letter should be.
Cap E. O. Period. Spit cap O. Dot spit T. V.
And
you question mark.
Okay.
Message.
So what I just typed, how I put hello, how are you? And what I did is I did it all by direct touch typing. I did not ever have to double tap anything because everything I typed, and I can go back here and we had maybe a couple mistakes, but we autocorrect and so forth. But
how, hello, period, how,
okay. And so what we have, this is direct touch. You can see how much quicker that would be. This is, again, a God-given talent, but also practice with it, you know? And so this is something that you can aspire to, and you can get to it if you spend time on it. I would really stress, again, don't disable your autocorrect. As we progress through this course, we're going to teach you how to use autocorrect and quick type suggestions and inline predictions and all those things. We're going to teach you that. And you will find them to be, I hope, you will find them to be useful instead of annoying. If you're not sure how to use them or you're not comfortable with them, the tendency is just to disable them. But really and truly, they can help you in situations like this because they can fix errors that you might have been close. But you can see how much faster we can type when we use direct touch typing. So let's do one more demonstration of that here. What do I want to even say? I am teaching. Now I know I made one mistake there, and it's not going to probably fix it because. So if I type, I think what I did, where was it? It was the word voiceover, and I capitalized the V, and so because it became a proper noun It didn't know that I wanted to spell voice. I need to go back.
Word class voiceover.
Yep.
Misspelled.
It's misspelled. I can fix that.
Cap O-I-R-R-3.
Okay, so I'm in the numbers. Okay, there it is. Now it's correct.
Voiceover.
So
you question mark. I am teaching the voiceover class period.
So that normally it would have auto-corrected that. But again, because I capitalized the V, I guess it thought maybe I really was trying to spell VOICR because it could be a name or something. But I went back and manually fixed that. But the amount of time it took me to fix one letter is still much, much less than what it would have taken me to type that using another method like standard typing or touch typing. So this is the ultimate, in my opinion, and it is an opinion, by the way. There's no right or wrong, but we always like to say personal preference, right? But I mean, for me, that's the way to go. And I use direct touch typing on all of my devices. Now, I will let you in on a little secret. If you touch outside of the keyboard on screen, let's say the edit field and so forth above that, it's not direct touch. It's standard. So if you're in a situation like a password field where it's not going to speak the letter when it's typed, what I sometimes do, just to be triply sure, is that I would touch the letter first without inserting it. And remember, to do that, you'll hold down just a little longer. And now I move up away from the keyboard entirely on the screen, way up higher, and I double tap. Okay. And so in that way, I'm going to delete that. In that way, if we really need to, we can kind of use that as a standard typing method without having to switch to standard typing mode. And that's why I say I really don't have any reason to keep the typing mode option in the rotor anymore. Because if I absolutely feel like, boy, I don't know, I just really got to get this right on the first try, and I can't hear what's being typed because it won't speak the letters because it's secure field. Well, that's how you can solve that. But most of the time, you could just type. And so, as I said, when you get comfortable enough with this, you can try it and you can play with it. It's a lot of fun to experiment with. And I actually, what I've done with the iPads now. Of course, this is on an iPhone, and so I'm using my index finger to do all the typing. I'm not doing even the double thumb thing. I'm just using one finger. All of that I typed was with just my index finger, praise God. But I on an iPad, because the screen is larger, if I use my iPad in landscape mode, I can place my fingers just as I would on a mechanical keyboard, proper home row, and I can type that way. And when we have our iPad course in the spring, we'll teach you that and we'll show you that for those who want to take that. But I've actually had times where, now this is not so much an issue anymore because they've improved this with, newer iPad OS releases and, of course, the faster iPads that have M1 and M2 and so forth. And so I really don't have to do this anymore. But there was a period of time, maybe back around iOS 12 and iPad OS 13 and so forth, where the voiceover was just not able to keep up with me. And so it actually slowed down my typing. And so what I would actually do is I'd turn off voiceover entirely and I would just type, just using the on-screen keyboard. And I just knew where the letters were, praise God. Again, was it perfect? Absolutely not. Did I sometimes have to go back and fix mistakes? 100%. Yes, I did. But it was still a lot quicker than anything else. And, with the exception maybe of a mechanical keyboard, but I really enjoy typing on screen. I found it a lot of fun. And so I would do this and it would work pretty well. And as I said, now, because the iPads have gotten faster, iPad OS has gotten smoother, I don't really ever need to do that anymore. But that used to be a thing. So you can definitely, you can have some fun with this. You can play with it, but start out with our typing with TTJ. If you're new to typing, and for that, definitely you're going to want to use a mechanical keyboard to start. So if you've not got one already, you can talk to us later or during the Q&A or the help sessions or email us or whatever. We can give you keyboard recommendations. But the only reason we want you to start with the mechanical keyboard is because it is easier, especially for us who don't see these things. It's easier to have that tactile representation until you get used to it. I never would have been able to type as quickly on. Now, as I said, it is a God-given talent, but this has allowed me a way to practice it and a way to refine it. And so I wouldn't do that as quickly if I didn't have that, because it's definitely something that I've spent time doing. But I remember when I first got my very first iPhone, when I first started out in 2009 using the iPhone, and I had gotten this iPhone. I won't go into all the details of it just for the sake of time, but I got this first iPhone, and whenever I got it, now my daughter wasn't even born yet. My son would have been 2, and so he wasn't, really in a position to help me that young. And my wife was at a meeting when I got the iPhone, and I didn't want to wait, until somebody was home later. We didn't have, Be My Eyes or anything like that. And I wanted to set this thing up. So I did the whole thing myself. I even got it signed into Sirius XM. I got my email account set up on there, and I was using this on-screen keyboard because I knew where things were. I could figure it out. Again, was it perfect? No, but you got it. You got there, and you figured it out. So it was so cool, and it still is, praise God. I would really, really highly encourage you to take this very seriously and to spend time with typing on screen, typing if you need to on the mechanical until you get comfortable with it. Can't stress it enough. Just can't stress it enough, because it's going to be part of everything that you do. Matt, are you saying that you don't like dictation? No, not at all. That's not at all what I'm saying. I use dictation, and I enjoy using dictation, and I don't find it as frustrating as some people do. I like dictation, but you always want to have that typing skill anyway, because maybe sometimes you're in a really noisy place, a crowded restaurant, or, the exact opposite. You're in a very quiet library, right? In either case, that, dictating may not be appropriate, or maybe it's sensitive information, something you don't want the whole world to know about. And so you'd rather not speak it. You want to type it, and so you've got to have that skill. And then the other part of it is that dictation is great. I'd even say it's fantastic, but it must be proofread, because artificial intelligence and technology and machinery and all these things, they're not perfect, and they will always need us more than we need it. Praise God. God's created something really incredible in the human. And so that human factor is needed. You need to proofread and make sure that, for example, even if it didn't, put any wrong words in there per se, make sure that it didn't put the word "to" as, TOO when you were looking for the number 2 or something like that. You got to be able to proofread, and that means you got to be able to type. Now, you also have to learn editing, and we're going to teach you that later on in this course, but you've got to be able to type. And I don't believe in putting one of those footers on there saying this was dictated by a voiceover user. Please excuse any errors. No, you're really selling yourself short, and the entire blindness community short, and you're not making the greatest impression for somebody who's hiring you, because they're going to say, why didn't you learn how to edit it so you didn't have to put that little note on the bottom? And that's exactly right. Learn proper editing, and you're not going to need to worry about that. So take your time with this. There's no condemnation. There's no, but definitely spend time with it and get to know this and enjoy it, because it's going to be a lot of fun, and it's going to challenge you, but you can really use the on-screen keyboard to your advantage. And then down the road, if you want to put a Bluetooth keyboard with it, or as an iPad user, if you want to have a smart keyboard, a Magic Keyboard, a Logitech. Look, I use keyboards. I use mechanical keyboards. I have nothing against them. When I'm going to type really, really long stuff, documents in pages, or even a really long email, absolutely, I will use my mechanical keyboard. And I've got one for each iPad, praise God. But I'm not going to do that when I just need to type. Somebody says to me, when do you want to have lunch? And I'll say, does tomorrow work? I don't need a keyboard to type, does tomorrow work? I can do that on screen, or yes, I can dictate it, right? But so this is what we're trying to get across here. And that is going to complete the typing portion of this session today. Let's transition to something else here. All right. We are going to talk now about the app library, Spotlight, and a little bit of SIRI. We might have to continue that last one on Wednesday, which is fine if we do, but we'll see. Now, I want to talk about the app library only because it's another page of the home screen that we didn't cover when we talked about all the different home screen things last week, the notification center and control center and the status bar and all of these things. And there are really two parts of the home screen that we didn't cover. There's the Today view and there's the app library. One is at the very end after your last page of apps, and one is at the very beginning before your first page of apps. So if we go to the home screen here, I don't think I deleted my
message. Return, care, text, mention, miss, edit, select, scans, select all. Selection deleted.
And a bunch of hellos in there. Okay, so let me
search page 1 of 8.
Okay, so I'm on the home screen now.
Settings.
I'm on
double tap to open.
I'm on page 1 of 8. If I do a 3-finger swipe to the right, it's kind of like we might call it page 0, but they just call it the Today view. And what this is it's a collection of a bunch of widgets. Remember we talked about widgets? Well, there's a whole bunch of widgets on the Today view.
Showing Today view, mail, all inboxes, 146, Taco Bell reward, Black Friday calendar, Monday, October 14th. Favored image, 2 all-day events, circle incomplete, take my pet from thought tips, find group photos.
Okay, so these are a bunch of widgets, the calendar, the mail, the tips widget. There's a whole bunch of other ones, and I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this. You can explore it if you'd like to, and I really, really like widgets. I actually like them a lot, but for the sake of time, I'm going to move on because we could spend all day on the Today view. I will say that at the very
screen time.
Let's see, where is it now?
Screen time. Screen.
I might be up higher.
Turn on app and website activity and screen calendar. Take my pill on photos. Feed calendar. Favored photos.
Okay.
Feature photos.
So there's a whole bunch.
Where's 500 at screen time?
You can swipe. You can scroll through these. I mean, there's just a ton of widgets here, and when you're done with it,
photos.
Just your go home gesture will get you back to page 1. But now I'd like to go to the very last page.
Wallet. Search. Page 1 of 8. Page 6 of 8. Page. Matthews.
Now.
MGM. Bend. Ticket. Search. Page 8 of 8. Adjustable.
There's one beyond this. Even though it says 8 of 8, that's only partially true because there's one more thing beyond it. And I can swipe up again on that page selector, or I can go over to the apps and 3-finger swipe to the left.
Ticket, showing app library.
And this
TV.
is the app library. Now, this is especially useful if you don't necessarily remember what page you have an app on, and maybe you're not able to even use SIRI to launch the app because you don't remember the exact name or, something like that. The app library automatically categorizes all of your apps. Now, it's not based on the folders that you create. So for our longtime users who know how to create folders on the home screen, these categories here may or may not match those because it's got nothing to do with what you've created. These are based on the App Store category itself. But you'll find it's going to... Well, let me keep it awake here.
YouTube.
You'll find that it's going to display 3 apps in each category, and then you can double tap on the category name to see even more apps in that category. So, for example,
suggestions, VSync, Finity, recently added, Twitch, FedEx, Burger King.
There's 3 apps there.
Recently added folder, 8 apps.
And then there's the recently.
Double tap to open.
So what you heard, recently added, and there were 3 that the 3 most recent apps that I've installed were the Twitch app, the
FedEx.
Had to
double tap to open.
Delete and reinstall the FedEx app because I was having some issues. Turns out they are specific to this version, so reinstalling didn't really help. But praise God, I can get around the issues with screen recognition, so it's fine. But I was doing that as a troubleshooting method. So I have the Twitch app recently installed. the FedEx app, and the Burger King app recently installed. But then you heard it say that it has for me a recent apps folder, which has 8 items in it. So it's actually going to give me access to the 8 most recent.
Burger King recently added folder.
If I want that, I can just double
tap to open.
See, double tap to see all of them. Let's look at another category. Go to the right.
Social, messages, Facebook, Meet.
Okay.
Double tap to open.
3 social apps that I have there: Messages, Facebook, and Google Meet. And if I go to the right,
social folder, 5 apps.
Notice there are 5.
Double tap to open.
Okay, let's look at the next category.
Utilities, Safari, Find My, Settings.
Okay, and there's probably
tap to open.
A bunch of these.
Utilities folder, 24 apps.
Yeah. So let's just double tap that to look at some of them.
Utilities, heading, App Store, Assistant, Calculator, Clock, Compass, Eco ATM, Find My, Gmail, Google.
Okay,
recently updated.
So you get the idea.
Double tap to open.
When I'm done with this, I can swipe up.
Swipe up or down. Social.
And it puts me right back where I was.
Social folder, Utilities, Safari.
Right back.
Double tap to open.
In the app library. And that is one of the big benefits. It has all your apps by category. It has your most recent apps. And the other thing that it has at the very top is a search field.
App library, search field. Double tap to edit.
Now, there are 2 benefits to this. Number 1 is the obvious. I can search for an app here. So if I'm not sure where the app is, I can start typing its name in this edit field, and it will display search results. But the other thing, if I open this search field by double tapping it, and then I don't type anything.
Search field is editing, app library, character mode, insertion point at start.
Now, allow me to show you what happens when I swipe to the right.
Cancel button, section index, adjustable. Swipe up or down with 1 finger to adjust the value.
Now, we're going to introduce a new feature today that we've not learned about yet, and it's called a section index. What our sighted counterparts are seeing is like the letters of the alphabet. We swipe through the section index with 1 finger up or down. Down to go to the next letter.
B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L. Selected.
And back up with 1 finger to go to the previous letters.
K, J, I, H, G.
So
selected.
If I want to find an app that starts with the letter F.
F. Selected.
Now that it's selected, I just touch the upper middle of the screen.
FaceTime, Fair Food Maker, Fandango, FedEx, Feedback, Files.
So you can see that I just have to touch the screen and I can access every letter. But what this is an entire list of all of my apps in alphabetical order. So I can see every single app alphabetized right here in the app library. And that is really, really cool. I had in my notes to talk about Spotlight. I just have general, outline of this course and looking at the features and everything as we progress through. And Spotlight, I kind of already mentioned this to you, but I just want to give you a reminder when we're talking about things that you'll see on the home screen. If you locate that page selector,
ticket. Search, page 8 of 8.
You notice that it says search. It doesn't just say page 8 of 8 or page whatever. It says search. And if I double tap that, I get an edit field and I get the Spotlight search. And really, Spotlight is a way to search for just about anything. You can even do, measurements and unit conversions. But I mean, you can search, if I just put, let's do tap on this one.
Started editing.
Okay, hold on.
Finished edit ticket. Search, page 8 of search, page V.
And I see
search,
an on-screen keyboard
Use
here.
the rotor to access misspelled words.
Okay. And so, let's see. What do we want to do? Well, it's almost Halloween. Now, here at our household, we don't celebrate Halloween for reasons I won't get into, but I'm sure some of you can figure it out. But we do decorate for fall, and the kids dress up in their Disney costumes or whatever they want. We even dress up our puppy, and we do candy. We get together and have a nice hot soup and little treasure hunt around the neighborhood and stuff. So we do fun things. We just don't really look at that Halloween theme. But let's say I'm looking for candy because it's Halloween and candy. It's always
candy. 40
so I typed candy in there. Let's look at the top of the screen to see what kinds of things we have here.
Candy, apps, calendar, canary.
Okay, so you notice the first thing it has is apps. If I had any apps that had the name Candy in it, like Candy Crush Saga, they would appear here. Now it's giving me canary and calendar. They don't really have the word candy in it, but
Calendly.
Okay.
Files. Search an app button. Surprise candy tokens folder middle dot 8/26/24 6:45 p.m.
Apparently that's in an app. There must be a folder called that.
Pies, cakes, cookies, candy and desserts folder middle dot 8/26/24.
And that's a recipe folder.
Candy in squares folder music.
Now it's finding candy in music.
Search an app button.
You can search in the music app.
The Candyman.
That's a famous song, right? The Candyman.
Play.
You can play it right here.
The Candyman. Play. Image. Text field. Clear text. Button.
So what you're seeing, and I'll do a swipe to go home there. What you're seeing is Spotlight search results. So Spotlight searches on your phone. It searches on the web. It searches anywhere that it can within apps. And it gives you, messages, contacts, music, TV shows, web results, dictionary results, thesaurus, all sorts of things that will possibly match what you've typed. Now, I don't use Spotlight very much because if I want to do things like that, I'm typically going to use who, and I'm avoiding saying her name because I will set off a bunch of devices both in my home and in yours probably. And so we can set it up that all we have to do is say her name, Siri, right? We just say that name, or we say, hey, followed by her name. We can do it either way, and it will allow us to speak to her. We can also hold down the side button and we can talk to her. And the things that she can do really are incredible. Now, Siri is pretty amazing already, and it's growing year by year in leaps and bounds. But I will also tell you that Siri is about to even get better with the introduction of Apple Intelligence. I really can't demonstrate Siri for you today. I mean, I probably could because people do anyhow. And, but I try to, biblically what we're supposed to do is honor our keep our word and honor authority and so forth. And I signed a non-disclosure agreement. So I'm going to stick to that. And I'm not going to demonstrate because I'm on 18.1 and Siri sounds a little bit different in 18.1. I'm super excited to demonstrate for you. And hopefully by the end of next week, or certainly the beginning of the following, I can do it because they're saying that 18.1 is going to come out possibly October 28th or thereabouts. So I'll be able to demonstrate that for you now. But all you got to do is hold down your side button and speak to Siri. How many cups are in a gallon? Translate, such and such a word to Spanish. What time is it in Paris? Show me some good Mexican restaurants near me. Give me directions to work. You can ask it about sports scores and movies, and you can ask it to launch apps for you and tell you a joke, and anything from the anything from the fun to the serious and productive to the downright ridiculous. You can even play games with Siri. She does a lot of really cool things, and we'll get to demonstrate some of those after next week. But also, Apple Intelligence is coming out for those devices that are going to be able to support it. And that's going to make Siri even richer in what she's able to do. Now, I will be very, very clear that this is not an all-at-once release. This is going to be first of all, it's always going to keep getting better and improving and new features, I'm sure. But even within iOS 18, we're not getting all the features right out of the gate. There's a handful of features that we're getting in 18.1 with more promised in 18.2, probably 18.3, 18.4, and so on. Ultimately, it's going to be really, really amazing. And even what we have access to now in 18.1 as beta testers and what you're going to get soon is really, really cool. But one of the things I wanted to make sure that I talked to you about is the upcoming integration with Chat GPT. Now, that's not coming in 18.1. You won't be able to do that next week, but it is supposed to be coming later this year. A lot of the pundits say by December in iOS 18.2. I think Apple on its website does say later this year or by the end of the year or something. For those who don't know, ChatGPT is an artificial intelligence app and service that uses a large language model from a company called OpenAI. And it's really, really amazing what this thing does. And pretty soon you're going to be able to use it with Siri by just giving her your request, and she'll ask you if it's okay to pass it along to ChatGPT, and those results will be spoken and displayed right inside of your Siri interface. But let me just give you a couple of fun examples, because I can use the Chat GPT app without violating any sort of non-disclosure agreements, because the Chat GPT app is available to everybody. And so I'm just going to do like 2 or 3 demonstrations, and that's all. And then we're going to go to Sarah and Cliff, and we're going to go to your questions and close for the day. But I'm going to try just a couple of things here.
Chat GPT.
There's the app.
Chat GPT. New message. Text field.
And remember, eventually, who is going to be able to do this right in her interface, So let me just try something really, really random. Let's see here. Okay. Here's one example. I've never tried this one before. Okay. Last time I demonstrated this at a help session, I did something that I already knew what the results were going to be. This time we're going to try something I've never done before, just to see what happens. Okay, let's try. What are the advantages of using a metal roof on my house?
Inserted. What are the advantages of using a metal roof on my house? Attach. New chat. New mess. Send. Button. Send. Using the metal roof for your home offers several advantages. 1. Star durability and longevity. Metal roofs are known for their longevity, often lasting 40, 70 years depending on the material. They resist cracking, shrinking, and erosion, which can occur with other roofing materials. 2. Weather resistant. Metal roofs are highly resistant to severe weather conditions like high winds, heavy rain, and snow. They are designed to withstand gusts of wind up to 140 miles per hour or more, and can shed snow more easily, reducing the load on your home. 3. Energy efficiency. Metal roofs reflect solar radiant heat, which...
Okay, so some of you should really probably be in awe right now. That was a simple question, and instead of me having to look through search results and all of these things, it just gave me an answer. And it's, I'm sure there's going to be debates in the future, especially when it comes to, let's say, political views or brand preference or things like that. I'm sure there's going to be debates in the industry about whether there's any bias that's programmed into these or anything like that. But I think the things that it gave me here, assuming that they are true, that's pretty good information, right? I mean, I didn't know that a metal roof could last between 40 and 70 years. I had no idea. I never asked anybody, but I'm just saying, if any of that's true. So you can ask this all kinds of stuff. You can say, what foods can I make with chicken and rice and whatever? You got like a handful of ingredients, and you want to ask it what, or for good recipes using those things. Or when I did our help session, I asked it about, because I'm really into aviation, and I kept hearing about these two features of commercial aircraft that sometimes get used during emergencies. One is called a ram air turbine, and one is called an APU, or an auxiliary power unit. And I never really understood the difference, even though I'd watch these air crash investigation shows and they'd say, that the APU turned on, or the pilots activated that, or the ram air. But I never really had an explanation. So I asked ChatGPT, "What's the difference?" And ChatGPT gave me a thorough explanation, to the point that I'm satisfied with it, and I understand now, or at least I think I understand now, why certain incidences use the ram air turbine and certain ones use the APU. So I mean, these kinds of things and more can be done with ChatGPT, and I think it's really cool. And that's going to be integrated soon, and probably in 18.2. Along with that, you're going to have the ability to do a lot of other really cool things, like create your own images just based on words, and create your own emojis based on words. So if it's your dog's birthday, as it was our dog's birthday yesterday, you could tell Siri to create. Well, actually, it's not Siri. It's just in the messages app, or in an app they're going to have called Image Playground. But you'll be able to instruct it, like, create an emoji of a dog sitting in a chair with her face covered with icing or something, and surrounded by birthday confetti or something, So you'll be able to, and it's going to create these images for you. Again, that's not coming next week. That's not in 18.1. We've never even seen that yet. That's at least, one iOS release away. But it will be coming soon. There's a lot of features that are going to be coming. And, as we teach this course, we're going to have the privilege of teaching a lot of them and implementing them into things that we do. In fact, by the time we get to advanced editing in this course, the the Apple Intelligence writing tools will be live for everybody. So I'll be able to teach you how to proofread and change the tone of your writing from, let's say, casual to professional, and so on. Okay, so that's going to conclude the that explanation. But play with Siri, Siri. Spend some time with her. She's really a lot of fun, and she's also very useful. If you have smart home devices that use the Apple HomeKit, which we're going to talk about at a later point, you can control those with her as well. Is the front door locked? Turn on the coffee maker. Make it cooler in the house. Whatever. You can do all sorts of stuff. Let's go to Sarah and Cliff in either order. I don't care. And let's say hello to them. How you guys doing?
Only one thing that I'll bring up, and I know you probably would have mentioned it when you go to the messages app, but just a little teaser. You don't technically have to hit the emoji or glow button to get to the emojis. You can go to the tap back, and it will ask you. It will give you a list of recent ones that you've done, and it actually gives you a search box in there, so you can search for anyone that you want to react or tap back to the last message. So you technically don't have to go into the globe/emoji button keyboard to get to that, get to your emojis like that. So.
Oh, absolutely! I like that new feature. You can tap back with any emoji now. Yep, absolutely.
I don't know if this is too early to give the warning to not be too Siri dependent, because there are people who depend on Siri so much that if something goes wrong, they don't know how to get to an app or manually navigate through, settings or through, any of the apps. And I think it's really important to know how to do it. And yes, use Siri when you need to or when you want to, but definitely don't rely on Siri for everything. And if you're going to rely on Siri for a lot, just know how to do it manually as well.
This may come to a surprise to people, but I actually agree with Sarah.
Yeah.
Because I don't use Siri for a whole lot. I'll ask the weather, What's the high gonna be and stuff of that nature. But opening apps, I know how to do it faster. Adjusting a setting, I can do it faster. And doing a calendar event, okay, Siri can set it up for you, but initially you're gonna have to go in there and modify it anyways, especially if it's a recurring event. So yeah, I 100% agree with that.
And that's, like you say, learning the app. I mean, and that's not a, a negative about, it's not a shortcoming. It's just that she's not designed to do those little nuanced things. Now, some of that may change in some of these future versions, but even then, learning the ability to navigate within the apps and in the menus and in the tab bars and all these things is just going to serve you so well.
Okay, you were talking about Chat GPT, and my little red flag went out because I've heard some stuff around that it may not be very private, and if you use it incorrectly, it may be a bit invasive. Can you tell me, because Apple has a reputation of being a very private operating systems, can you tell me about GPT and privacy and any way that you can does that make any sense to you?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely it does. And this is, I promise I will keep this short for everybody, but I'll say this is a really, really long and complex topic that maybe sometime in the not too distant future, we will do a Tuesday session about this, because this is a big, and it speaks to more than just Chat GPT, right? It speaks to artificial intelligence in a much broader sense. And it's something that there are literally committees and panels and think tanks that are having this very conversation. And my daughter is in a debate class of sorts, as kind of an extracurricular thing in a sense, and she's even they're talking about it in there, and I have some opinions on it. Others may have different opinions. What I can say that I think will fit into the confines of the time we have left in today's session, and that will not be divisive or anything of that nature, is very simply that the fact that Apple has not only chosen to support OpenAI, which is the maker of ChatGPT, right? The fact that Apple has chosen not only to support them by integrating it with Siri in the future, but also the fact that it's the first language model that they chose to go after with SIRI integration is enough of a reassurance for me, because of what you said about how Apple is, extremely, extremely devoted to privacy and security, beyond any other tech company that we know of. They are devoted to it. Some people would even argue it's to a fault. Now, I don't agree with that, but some people would even say that about Apple's, level of devotion to privacy and security. And so the fact that they've chosen to make ChatGPT part of that, and it's the first one they've chosen, I don't believe they would do it if there were serious shortcomings or security concerns.
And
Matt,
yeah,
wasn't there an article that they wrote about it having its own privacy cloud for Apple as well as ChatGPT when it's all integrated in one?
Yeah, there is something about that, Cliff, that was talked about, I think, at the Worldwide Developers Conference when they first introduced Apple Intelligence, right? And it does have its own privacy cloud, I think, is the term that was used. Yes. And it's going to always ask you if it's okay to use Chat GPT when it's needed, so I still think at the end of the day, a little bit of common sense goes a long, long way, right? We have to be responsible at the end of the day for what we share, so I'm probably not going to tell ChatGPT, here's my bank routing number, right? I mean, I'm
Gotcha.
obviously you're not suggesting that either, but I'm just, but so I think there's a lot of personal responsibility that we still have to exercise common sense. But yeah, I feel very good about OpenAI because Apple's using it, quite honestly. Thanks so much for joining us today, and we'll see you next time, everybody.
Thanks for joining today's session. Didn't get your question answered? Have an additional comment or feedback? Email us info@ttjtech.biz or info@stiritup.com. And remember, stir is spelled with a U. That's STURITUP.com. Or check out our websites for additional resources. That's ttjtech.biz or stiritup.com. And remember, subscribe to the newsletter when you're there. That way, you don't miss out on any upcoming announcements or events. Thanks for joining us. God bless, and see you next time.